bonjour, and welcome to the Amateur Detective Club. This club is exactly how it sounds. A bunch of amateurs talking about their favorite mysteries. So if you encounter a real mystery or a murder, contact the proper authorities. Do not come to us. We do not know what we are doing. But enjoy the program. Allons-y. Let us begin.
I now call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to order. My name is Tristan Miller, the Saucy Sleuth.
I am Melissa Meli, the spy.
I'm Tyler Riley, cop and a half.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/adcpod and browse the unmatched selections of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It is that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/adcpod. Ugh! I'm back! Here he is!
The episode we're about to watch is based on a book.
Oh, yes. It's called Evil Under the Sun.
By Agatha Christie.
By Agatha Christie. I assume it's narrated by Hugh Fraser, or Audible is offering free versions of, like, Mysterious Affair at Styles, read by Richard Armitage, who is best known as playing Thorin Oakenshield in the Hobbit films. Very fine actor, nice voice, does a decent Belgian accent.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so we're here, and we generally do a little bit of talking about our personal lives to try and get it out of the way, because otherwise it crops up, it rears its ugly head.
Otherwise?
In the middle of a recap, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it does not stop us from going on tangents.
That's true. I like to think the charm of the podcast.
Right.
It's as Tyler put it so eloquently, it's three people rambling trying to remember things. But I got a new refrigerator.
Ooh.
I hardly know her.
Oh.
I got a new refrigerator because the other one just stopped working.
Oh.
And it was not working for like a day or two. And I got a new one yesterday, and it's so clean and nice, and I love it. My landlord, he's a great guy. He's from New York. He's like from New York.
Yeah.
He ends every sentence with the word "okay," which is great. So, I saw Seinfeld at the Beacon Theater, okay? And he wasn't good, all right? Like, he's like that. He's 62. He's so nice.
Is it
great
stainless
guy.
steel?
It's not. It's an older model because it's small. I have a small apartment. I'm fine with it. It's like a $300 fridge. Who cares? The other one lasted him like 10 years. I'm like, for $300, that's not bad.
No, that's great.
Yeah. He called a service, and then he was like, he said literally to hell with it, and just got one. And he moved it in himself. I was like, can I help you? And he's like, nah. I see these people, they do it all the time. Don't worry about it. And I was like, so concerned for this. And it's one of those things of, like, no matter who it was, I would have been like, can I help you? I realized, like, I'm so uncomfortable just sitting around, not being able to do anything while someone's putting together something that I need.
Yeah, the few times that I'm on set for, like, film stuff, it makes me so anxious, like, to see them, like, loading in things that I know that I can't do
the Teamsters
anything.
are like, don't touch it.
Yeah, and it's just like, but I'm sitting, and I could be useful.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
I feel that a lot. I've been helping Rich move a lot of furniture and whatnot, and I am A, not very strong in my arms, and B, I have small, tiny hands, so a big, bulky item is weird and awkward for me to lift and slips out of my hands. So sometimes it's really not helpful for me to help.
Yeah.
But I hate not being helpful. So I will just stand there awkwardly as I watch him do stuff and apologize about how I'm not helpful.
Well, you're being helpful by not helping. Just much like by not going outside, you're being helpful. Sometimes doing nothing is the most helpful thing you can do. I will say this, Melissa. You have the smallest hands I've ever seen in my life. They're great. They're great, itty bitty little hands. You're also...
Thank you.
You also make me look tall. So maybe For those of you who have been imagining me as a 6'2" god, chiseled, looking like Michelangelo's David, which I do, only in the one aspect. I think you know what one. I am a nice 5'8", 5'9" on a good day if I'm standing up straight and wear boots. Going back to
I'm sorry, I can't let you go ahead with these lies. Our animated cover art is exactly our height order. It is to scale.
I represent the Lollipop Guild. The Lollipop Guild.
I am less than 5'2".
Which is one of my favorite things about being in a physical space with you, Melissa.
Thanks.
I was 5'10". Now I'm a little bit under, like I'm 5'9"-ish after my back surgery. I had that little bit of heartbreaking news at my most recent doctor's visit. I was like, I'm 5'10", and they were like, are you really? And sure enough, I was like 5'9" and like 3/4.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Aw.
What a
Sorry,
bummer.
you should still write 5'10" on your resume.
Oh yeah, I'm not having this reprinted.
One of my favorite things that I ever learned is when you get a driver's license or an ID, you can put whatever the hell you want. I can put it that I'm 5'10".
That is weird.
Yeah, isn't it? I can say I have brown eyes, I'm 5'11", and I'm Hispanic. Like, I could do that. I could just fully lie.
Yeah, you could even
It
say
is
you're an
weird that
organ
it's-
donor.
I hardly know her. Why should I donate when I hardly know her? Oh, my gosh. Would you donate an organ to save my life?
For your life? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
My thing
You
with
need one
like
of my
the
kidneys?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just offering Tristan a kidney.
I think I need one to sell it. Times are tough.
Fair.
How has the black market been doing? I wonder.
Why do you have to
in
ask
this
me
economy? I think you know why.
All right, let me get on
But-
the black phone in like 5 minutes. And...
It's honestly like all of in the black market. Like, are organs safe now? Are they?
Probably not
Are
because
people-
of COVID.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what? Like, are people stopping all? This is so dark. Are people stopping the bodies on the way to the crematorium, and going, "Hey, no, I can use that."
You know,
Huh.
Yeah,
probably.
I hope so.
And which
Like,
is
if the
why
organs
I'm
are
no
good.
longer an organ donor.
'Cause you
I
wanna get a
don't
good
know
price.
if there's any factual basis on this. I did not look into it that much, admittedly. Allegedly. Allegedly. And once more for emphasis. Allegedly.
Yes.
It was rumored that American police officers allegedly would not try to save the life of people of color who were organ donors.
Ooh.
Allegedly.
I think that alleged piece of information would make sense for you to change your status as an organ donor.
Much like ghosts, I believe just enough to not be there.
This is fair. I am an organ donor. I just had to renew my license. But I am a white girl, so
You are. I think I have organ donation, but I'd rather donate it to science than to somebody that needs it. I want to be studied for the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
is that something that you're planning on doing, like the donating your body to science? And I'm
Yeah.
science. Just kidding.
Yeah, I am. I have beautiful eyes. I want people looking at those peepers all the time. I want to be a
Jeepers
cadaver.
creepers.
I hardly know her. Going back to the fridge thing, do you want to hear something
Oh,
gross?
sure.
great.
I was like checking to see what had gone bad. 'Cause yep. Yep. Melissa's shaking her head and frowning. You take off those headphones, girl. You do whatever you need to.
Was it a used fridge?
What do you?
I would
no,
imagine.
No, for the old one. The old one that had died.
Oh, I see.
No, the new fridge didn't come with food in it. I just stole a fridge from one of the food banks that are around.
We just spoke about getting a new fridge.
And I found some organs in it, if you can believe.
And that was only
edition.
$300. And your landlord decided not to wait on a service and just brought it in. So I feel like I'm well within my
great.
rights
I know a
to
guy. It's fine.
inquire about
That's
what
fair.
was in the fridge.
Okay.
What was in the old fridge, though?
The old fridge, I was like, I wonder if this cheese has gone bad. Terrible mistake.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Did you? Okay.
I literally gagged. I almost vomited. And then
You,
I just
you didn't eat it. You smelled it.
Yeah, I smelled it.
Okay.
I'm not stupid, Melissa.
I mean,
Hey!
Oh. So good. Such
Oh
a good
my
burn.
gosh. Need a skin graft after that one. Whew. But yeah, no, I smelled it. I almost threw up. And then I was like, I just assumed the mushrooms are bad. Like, I just threw out most things.
that's honestly, when your fridge turns off spontaneously, most of the stuff is probably gotta go.
Yeah, because like,
that sucks.
yeah, what's interesting as well is because like, what's interesting about a fridge? Here's something that's interesting about a fridge.
Oh, good.
Because the way it works, with the light and everything, and since there's electronics going through it, it's not like it just becomes room temp. It becomes a hot box.
Yeah.
And so if you have things, like cheese will melt a little bit and get sticky
no.
and gross and disgusting. And I have a couple of things of like yogurt that I'm still afraid to check on, but I got them like the day. It was upsetting. I went grocery shopping the day before it shut off.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just a bummer all around, but like, it is what it is.
I was going to talk about gross fridges more.
Oh, go ahead. What do you got?
Oh, just when I was going through chemo, I had a really good anti-nausea drug. They've come a long way with that, because when my mom was sick, she had terrible nausea. But at any rate, so I was generally okay on that, but there were certain vegetables, and I also could not handle fridge smell at all.
Yeah.
Like, something that I would not be able to smell now, I could smell, and it was repulsive. I had to ask a friend to clean out my fridge when I was going through chemotherapy. I didn't mean to bring it down either. I think it's funny.
No, it is.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm talking about when I was going through chemo, and there's like an anecdote that I have, and I'm far enough separated from it and fine now. But people are like, oh, I'm like, it's okay. You can laugh. Some things are funny even when they suck.
Yeah.
Fair.
I don't know if you remember this. When Melissa was going through chemotherapy, she and I were directing a play together, and the cast signed a card, and Tucker, our good friend Tucker Daly Johnston, who was jokingly said, someone has to put cancer, I hardly know her. And then I pointed to the card and said, do you see what I put right here? And he's like, you son of a-" And I'm like, I was like, I know Melissa well enough that I can do this, but if it was anybody else, I think she'd get mad.
Tucker would have also been fine. Tucker can do no wrong. So today we talked about Evil Under the Sun, which is Series 8, Episode 1 of Agatha Christie's Poirot. This is based on a book by Agatha Christie, as you might suspect. And it's one that we have not read as a podcast at this point, or listened to on Audible. No. So it was fun to be able to experience it for the first time in this medium. Go ahead.
I agree.
Okay.
It was.
I
It was really
abstain.
nice. I remain
Great.
neutral.
Very good. So we open on a guy giving a speech about Jezebels.
I'm sorry. It's a sermon. He's a preacher. A
Yeah.
speech, Melissa?
I don't know why I said
Heathen.
that. Well,
Yeah. What?
yeah, he's a vicar, in fact. We learn later.
Hardly know her.
So he's giving a very fiery speech about Jezebels and fallen women and how bad it is when women are loose and all that good stuff. And then we get...
I'm not going to go
terrible.
there.
Yeah, I was gonna say number one. That number two, it kind of implies like you have a bunch of women corralled. It's like, oh, these women, they've gotten loose.
Yeah, it does imply that, in fact.
Yeah. It's like, oh no.
Okay, I'm sure R. Kelly was not the first.
Oh my gosh.
I know, I'm sure he wasn't.
Oh my god. It's like, well, I got some free range women available if you're interested. Oh man.
And then we get an interspersed scene of a woman being discovered who has been strangled in the woods. Stay out of the forest. SSTGM.
Deverell, right?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
So, cut to Poirot and Miss Lemon are hanging out in the office, and Miss Lemon says that Hastings has opened a restaurant, an Argentinian restaurant. El Ranchero.
Yeah.
And I'm very confused about what his role is in this restaurant. Because, I mean, I guess clearly he's an investor. But there are many points throughout this episode which seem like he has no idea what's going on with the restaurant. Like, he certainly does not have very much influence over the administration and the, like, planning of anything that's going on.
Which is why most restaurants fail.
Yeah.
Well...
And yeah, he's from my understanding, kind of like an angel investor. He's just like putting his money in, and he's sunk some money into this thing. He's a partial owner, and hopefully it'll be a success. And
we get a little bit of xenophobia and racism from Miss Lemon during this scene, which I found surprising.
Oh, yeah. Every once in a while.
Yeah. It's like, dang, girl.
Was she like? Oh yeah, she's like, I didn't realize Argentina had a cuisine.
Yeah.
Right?
And gives like a face, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah,
Miss
that
Lemon,
one.
Chill.
Yeah, I heard
She
that
was
too.
very sour at the idea.
A bitter Miss Lemon.
She didn't find it appealing. Scurvy. I don't know.
Zest.
That's not where she gets her zest for life.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's it.
We found it. We solved the pun.
Solve the pun puzzle. So we go to the restaurant, and Poirot is enjoying his meal very much, says the soup is great. And then they see there's an actress at the restaurant, and she's dancing with her husband. I guess this is a dancing restaurant where you can dance.
It's Argentinian.
That's true.
It's the sorry, I'm trying to get this thought out. It's the template for Ellen Stardust Diner, if you can believe.
But there are tons of places like the Cotton Club and the Rainbow Room, and it's like in that vein.
Yeah, you can.
A restaurant.
There's a live band. It's like and pubs do that too.
You said
there's
pubs?
Like a special.
Public houses.
Pubs.
Yeah, I didn't know if you said pubs or clubs.
Both.
There is apparently some sort of permit you have to have, though, to be able to have dancing in restaurants in New York.
Oh.
I think that this is true because there's a sign at Don't Tell Mama that says no dancing is permitted. It's really funny. Like, funny weird, not haha. But
Yeah, well, both.
so this actress is dancing with her husband, and then a guy cuts in, and her husband's like, well, I do mind. And she says, well, I don't care. Ha ha ha. And she talks to this guy, and he has an American accent, and his name is Nathan. And
He
they're
says,
talking about,
give me the money.
Yeah. And Poirot and Hastings, I think, comment about how openly disrespectful of her husband she is being.
She's so rude to her husband. Because not only does she go, get over it, she also turns to him and goes, give me some champagne. Not even, can you please give me some champagne? She just tells him to do it. Poirot gets the sweats.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, I'm fine. He goes to stand up and he faints. They call an ambulance. Oh, Jap is there as well.
My favorite, Jap is there as well. And he's not wearing a hat, and it took me a minute to recognize him. But before he passes out, he says he's really warm. And Hastings says, oh, we'll have another glass of wine.
Oh, yeah.
Which is such a bad idea.
So Poirot passes out, and he's rushed to the hospital. We cut to Miss Lemon getting to the hospital, and he's like, is Mr. Poirot all right? And they're like, he's fine, he's resting, but you know what it is, right? And it's like, yeah, okay. And then they go in, and it cuts to Poirot going, Poirot is not obese.
Medically obese, Poirot.
Okay.
Completely different.
I have so many thoughts and issues with this storyline. And there's a lot that's about to come up about it. Because it gets into a realm of fat shaming, and which is very bothersome to me. But also, there's the, like, if his health is being affected, then certainly he should be making some lifestyle changes. But yeah, there's also, takes place in, like, what, the 30s, 40s, and they did the thing where they would give you, like, the tiniest portions of food when they were trying to put you on diets, and diet culture is extremely toxic. Mm-hmm. So, fair warning for that. We probably won't talk about it too much, but it becomes a little bit of the storyline.
Yeah, he's sent to a fat farm, essentially.
A health resort.
Kind.
And I've since looked into a few.
The thing...
I've since looked into if you have to watch the episode. It's like, oh, that sounds interesting. That probably sounds like something where I'd like to vacation.
Okay, yeah. And it's not strictly a place where people would go to lose weight. I think it is also a place where people were sent because, you know, they were feeling really depressed or anxious, and they were like, maybe you should go and see some sun and water for a while. Which, honestly, is not done enough, I think, anymore. No. Like, it's not medicine, but when someone's having a rough time and it's not treatable with medicine, you know, if someone's very anxious or feeling in bad spirits, it's not a bad idea for them to go have a change of scene in a nice place for a while.
100%. Vacations really do a lot for the mind, specifically if you're going through something like grief and you can kind of get the time to yourself.
But there is a component of this where his doctor has called the resort that he is to be staying at and dictated a food plan and an exercise plan for Poirot.
Yes. And Hastings was like, well, good luck with that. Have fun. And Miss Levin's like, well, you're going with him. And it's like you almost push in and you almost hear... Womp, 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 womp.
So, Hastings, to his credit, has a great attitude about this. Mostly, you know, after the initial surprise, he goes with the flow so well. It's one of the best things about Hastings' character. It's just kind of, oh, okay, we're doing this now. And he has a good attitude about it and makes the best of it. Like, later on, it comes up that people are going to play tennis. And he's like, oh, yeah, I brought my tennis racket. It's like, of course you did, Hastings. He's always up for anything.
They go to this island resort. And Miss Lemon stays because she's like, I have so much filing to do. And it reminded me of you, Melissa.
Oh, God. I was filing while I was watching it. It's like, I know, Miss Lemon, same.
And they're crossing from the mainland to this island on a contraption I'd never seen before.
A
Whoa,
tractor
this thing.
ferry.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
beautiful. I said out loud, what the heck kind of boat is this? And then I realized it wasn't a boat. Tyler, you seem to know a bit about it. Do you want to talk about what it looks like and what it do?
Oh, I mean, I can't really speak to the mechanics of it exactly, but it's like this trolley. Well, not like a trolley, but like it's almost like the back end of like a pickup truck, like a flatbed that's raised on top of like these 4 tractor wheels, and it's to go over like very shallow bodies of water without the need of a boat.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like
They meet
Go ahead.
a couple. And what are these guys' names? Christine?
Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
The Redferns.
The Redferns. Yeah.
Right. Patrick and Christine Redfern.
Yes.
And they have a little chat, and everyone's saying, "Oh, Poirot, are you the famous detective?" And he is, of course, he hates the sea, which is always fun.
You see?
Yes, he hates the sea. You hate to see it. I forgot. This, going back a bit, when Miss Lemon and Poirot are in the office, he's getting ready to go to El Ranchero. And Miss Lemon says, "Well, you look rather smart, Poirot." And he goes, "You think so, Miss Lemon?" He looks down and goes, "You are correct." And it's so good. And then later on, he has a coat. This foreshadows the issue where it's a little snug, you know.
Yeah.
But the line, "You are correct," was perfect. And a perfect introduction to his character if this was the first episode of Poirot you had seen.
That is true. Very true.
Beautiful. Beautiful. But they
Meanwhile,
talk...
back on the island.
They go on a 3-hour tour.
Yeah.
And
Professor and Marianne are speaking with Poirot and Hastings.
you're not far off. One of them is a teacher, and one of them is a journalist.
Yes.
Patrick is a journalist. Christine.
And she's a physical education teacher.
So everyone is meeting Poirot, and they all know who he is. Oh, Poirot, the famous detective. Ah, amazing. And this actress, Arlena Stewart.
And that's Poirot saying it to the air.
Yeah. This actress, Arlena Stewart, and her husband and stepson are there. Stepson is about 17, with glasses.
Who
And
the actor who plays him plays Alonzo in Doctor Who. In those.
Yeah, it's Russell Tovey, who's done a bunch of film and television work and Broadway. He was the last show I saw before the shutdown, actually.
Oh, was he?
Oh!
Was he any good?
He wasn't, but the other actors were. He's been good on stage before. He was great in A View from the Bridge a few years back. But he just didn't
Gotcha.
find it in time. I mean, they were in previews.
Okay. Okay.
Fair enough. Alonzo. Oh,
Yeah.
Yay.
When they first arrive after the ferry trolley and we do run into the actress, it's quite clear that Christine is quite upset having seen her, based on previous interactions that he has
Yes.
had with, I don't remember her name.
Arlena is the actress.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say Alana, but I know it's incorrect.
Arlena and Patrick are very, very good friends.
Yeah, exactly. And we also meet another woman, Rosamund Darnley. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then there's also Emily Brewster.
Yes.
Yes.
Darnley is not as significant. I think Emily Brewster is the more significant one. Is that right?
I think.
Yeah, but
Okay. I got a little confused. There were too many blonde women.
There are a fair amount of blonde women. But Darnley is someone from that Poirot has met before
Yes.
Yeah.
in Egypt.
Right.
So
She's great.
She's fantastic.
And then Brewster is kind of a...
Creep.
Yeah, she's a bit
Yes.
of a weirdo.
Yeah, she's a weirdo. She's
She doesn't
eccentric.
belong here.
Yeah. And then we
Yeah,
also
she's
meet...
like goes on and on about like how, oh, you're Poirot. Well, this is the perfect place to murder someone, and
Yeah.
this is how I'd murder someone. And
Hey, OJ.
wouldn't that be fun? And it's just like, okay.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And then we also see the vicar from our opening scene, who is no longer
Yes.
a vicar.
Yeah.
And he is there, and very creepy.
He kind of comes up behind Poirot and Hastings after their conversation with Brewster, where she points out how she would want to kill the movie actress
Ginger.
by like stabbing her with a hat pin while she's sunbathing. And we see her and Redfern down below, just kind of hanging out on the beach.
At one point, they're literally like splashing each other in the water, and it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and Catherine looks down and rolls her eyes and walks away.
yeah. And
Yeah.
the vicar is so disturbing.
Yeah.
He looks down and he's like, I can see evil in the world, and he basically points to them and goes, it's them, because they're being nasty. But he also has this fascinating voice where he goes, I can see evil, Mr. Poirot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very fun. It's so good.
He's
And
very
then we
upsetting.
get the titular line from Poirot.
Yes, that there is evil lurking under the sun.
Under
Or
the
whatever.
sun.
Yeah.
Under
Uh,
the sun.
And then somewhere Diane Lane was like, oh, that's under the Tuscan sun? Evil?
Oh no! I planned this whole trip to Italy.
Oh, man.
Ugh. You seen that
Which-
movie?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Good movie. I liked it.
it's
I
very
love Diane
enjoyable.
Lane.
Yeah, great film.
Made me want to run away to a vineyard in
Yeah.
Italy.
100%. I don't even drink and I want to be there. I just like looking
Yeah.
at the grapes.
Yeah.
beautiful.
Take a peep at those little grapes.
But then we're chucking along, we're strolling along the property, and Poirot and Hastings come along this set of stairs down to the water from the cliffside.
This set of stairs.
That's
is
very
so
generous.
Terrifying. It
Yeah,
looks like-
even people at Kirith Ungol are like, what the heck? Lord of the
It's
Rings.
so scary.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think
They're-
it was that bad.
Oh,
It's
it
a
looks like a
ladder.
series of rickety ladders.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I think I would you climb that ladder, Melissa?
No.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Yes, I would too. I would love to get scared. Chaboy loves to be a little frightened.
No, like, people were using the ladders. Like, I feel like it's safe.
The way they shot it, though, made it look so steep.
I wonder what the
Yeah, it's definitely like IMAX theater level steepness.
Yeah. And I think that's what gets me.
Yeah.
I'm a person who's done a rock climbing wall and gotten like 3 feet up it, because then
Oh,
there's
really?
one where you have to like climb from underneath, and I'm like, nope, bye-bye.
Oh, I love
Absolutely
it.
not.
Oh, I love it.
I need to build up my upper body strength a little bit, but I want to try it again because I'm stubborn and I hate not being able to do things. And there's only a few things that I accept that I can't do.
And as aforementioned, you're also shorter, so everything looks taller to you.
And I also have those small hands.
Which are, I think, good for grasping the little hooks. You don't want big meat hooks to be like, I can't fit my fingers in here. You know what I mean?
But you gotta be able to actually get a grip on it. And when you have teeny tiny little fingers like I do.
Okay.
Well, if there's one thing I can't do is get a grip.
No! I used to go to the rock climbing like once a week as a teenager, and I could get all the way to the top and down probably 25 feet in probably, 3 minutes? Oh, God, I loved it so
Dang.
much. I just, so fun. Ugh. Now I miss it. You made me miss a thing, Melissa. How dare you?
You know what I miss? Looking out at the water, which is what Poirot and Hastings do next.
Yeah.
They look out into the water and they see this boat with red sails.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they go, that's a peculiar color. And we move on.
Truly.
So, Poirot's getting his regimen laid out for him. They have a little lunch. Poirot has a very little lunch, and Hastings has a nice little Cornish hen.
Yeah.
And then Poirot goes to this steam bath, sauna thing. I
Yeah.
think there was a period of time, at least, where I believe it was a weight loss practice.
Yeah, you sweat it out.
Yeah.
And-
Martin Lawrence found that out the hard way, that does not always work out for the best.
I wish I understood your reference. I'm sorry.
Oh, Martin Lawrence was in a coma for like 5 days, like in the 90s, because he was trying to lose weight for a film. Went running with heavy coats on to try and sweat it out, collapsed, and was... They weren't quite sure he was going to make it out.
My
Oh
goodness.
my gosh.
Yeah, you can lose a little bit of water weight, but do not
It's not
recommend.
worth it.
No.
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 Do
But
not
yeah,
recommend.
when Poirot arrives, he's given, his kind of regimen for his stay.
Yeah.
And that's one of the treatments.
And he meets two things. This looks like something out of David Lynch's Dune. It's these two guys. They're in this box up to their heads. And they're just talking because they have nothing better to do. And what's the fella's name besides Poirot?
I don't know, but he
Blatt.
just... Okay.
Yeah.
Blatt
I kept
is
calling
the-
him Peter Pettigrew.
He does look like
Yes.
that. And I think that's it. He also looks like this is very rude to this man. He looks like the main villain from David Lynch's Dune, which is not a kind thing to just say. But similar.
But you are right. Like, there's, definitely it's not like, oh, that's the dude. But, there's, a similarity enough. Which I also tried to watch for the second time. Yes, second time. David Lynch's Dune. I don't remember why I ever thought that was a good idea. But I did. I got through maybe 20 minutes and I was like, it's not worth it.
Can I tell you, I like that movie. I think it's really
Oh.
fun and interesting. It's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination.
Patrick Stewart is in it?
Patrick Stewart is in it. Max von Sydow is in it. Klein McLaughlin. It was the first thing he and Lynch did together. Sting is there.
Yeah.
Brad Dourif. It's not a good movie, but and I also understand why it flopped so hard because the year before Return of the Jedi had just come out, and by by comparison, there's no contest to sci-fi stuff. Anyway, so he's in this sauna and he meets this creep
It's
who's very
Poirot clearly does not want to. Yeah, Poirot clearly does not want to talk or do anything. Poirot just wants to get it over with, and then
Yes.
this other guy starts talking to him, and he's like, "Oh no."
and he says the rudest thing. Number one, Poirot, he goes, "Oh, you're the famous detective." Poirot goes, "What do you do?" And he goes, "Oh, a bit of this and that." I'm like, "Okay, so you're a criminal." And then Poirot, there's a beat, and he goes, "You know, funny thing is, I thought you were dead." And then he starts laughing, and Poirot, it just pushes in on Poirot, going, "Why am I here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why am I here?"
Captive audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
And I guess that's a reference to the length of time that Poirot was retired, maybe? It was just very weird
It was very
Yeah.
strange.
to say.
it establishes the character well enough.
Yeah.
But they all gather for dinner.
Oh, at the
And-
bar, because Poirot wants his creme de cassis.
Yeah, and they're like, sorry, you can't have that. No alcohol for you.
And they
He's
keep-
like, okay.
He's so crestfallen.
Yeah, he's so sad. And they give him not wheatgrass, but something similar.
Nettle water.
Nettle water.
Oh my gosh.
So they're all sitting there, and Poirot refuses to drink his nettle water, but basically everyone's like, what's everyone doing tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's like some people are going to the beach. Somebody starts talking about treasure on Pixie Island.
Yes, because
which is
there's a cave on Pixie Cove, and everyone's like,
Pixie
that's
Cove.
not real, there's no buried treasure, and the pirate, the criminal, spills his drink when someone says that, and it's like, yes! No, that's not real at all. No, what are you talking about?
Yeah. A bunch of folks decide to play tennis, and
Including Hastings.
including Hastings because he brought his racket. And
God
also,
bless.
in the midst of this, Arlena, the actress, gets a phone call, and Christine overhears her on the phone call talking to somebody about money.
yes, and we also have Lionel, who again just can't let his stepmother be. He just I mean, she is like trash as a human being, but he's kind of acting a little sus himself,
Yeah.
as the youth say.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we're
Lionel,
contractually obligated to mention, as the youth say every single time we say sus.
Lionel has been ejected.
But next, Poirot finds then Mr. Redfeather and what is it?
Redfield.
Red Fern.
Redfern.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like gives him like a moral talking to.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you need to cut this, extramarital crap out,
Yeah.
young man.
I suppose it is, young man.
And then he's like, you can't tell me what to do, and then storms off.
You know who he reminds me of? And I wanted to bring this up for you, Tyler. He reminds me of David from Murder, She Wrote, this character, to be honest. He is similar. He's got big David energy.
Wow, gross.
No.
I do not accept that.
Okay. Got BDE, big David energy. Maybe
Lionel has BDE.
No. I think it's this. There's a scene.
Okay, LDE.
I think
Oh.
there's a. There's a scene later on where Patrick is rowing, and I think it just reminded me of the scene in Murder, She Wrote with David where he's exercising. I think that's what I'm getting at.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I thought you meant like in terms of like personality and looks and
Not looks, certainly. I mean, he does also have this cavalier thing about him that David has of like, well, what can I do about it?
but he goes after the young girls. Very different crowd.
That's true. That's true. Not a fan of a MILF.
Yeah. Gilf.
An ILF, which is an Angela, I'd like to. Very specific subreddit.
Oh boy, the Basset Hounds are gonna come for you, sir.
Okay, so he gives him a stern talking to that it's the next day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get the guy with the binoculars.
Oh yeah, the two folks that are, they show up. No, wait, never
No,
mind.
no.
Yeah,
the
but-
one man.
The vicar?
No.
Who has
He's
binoculars?
white hair. He has binoculars and a notepad.
Yes, and he meets Poirot, and he's like, "Stay off this island. It's cursed.
Yes.
It's cursed.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
Isla Muerde from Jurassic Park 2.
Scooby Doo. Oh.
Both. But yeah, so Poirot gets a weird warning from this fella, who I don't know if we get a name from right away.
Next, we're back inside the hotel, and Lionel has come inside with a book, and he runs into Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, why don't we, like, go off to the beach? and whatever.
Yeah.
Meet me in an hour.
Yes, this grown woman.
I mean, Lionel seems pretty taken with her, TBH.
As was I.
I mean, she's cute. But, so he's like, okay, pretty older lady, sure, I'll come with you, no problem. And she looks at the clock and says, let's meet at 10:30.
That's so interesting.
So you're right, he does have Big David energy. He's going after the older ladies.
He is.
There you go.
But I never bought him a straight, even at the age of 17.
No, he
doesn't. I actually,
bless him.
Do you know, based on things that happened later, I had, for a moment, based on how in denial the husband is that Arlena is doing anything wrong, I was like, is this a marriage where she married, seriously, where he is gay and she has married him because, back in the day, he was trying to keep up appearances and he just does not care that she's...
Oh, the dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see
had that thought for a minute because I'm like, what is... No, he's just in deep denial. But for a minute, I was like, what's going on here?
I mean, as we've learned throughout our doing this podcast, Melissa, you and I look for gay people whenever we can. We're constantly obsessed with the idea that these lady characters are lesbians.
Yeah.
Which, again, may not be incorrect.
No.
We don't get the full backstories of these characters.
No.
Yeah, it's true.
So he goes with her to swim. And then Poirot and Hastings are about to get ready to go to... Well, Hastings is getting ready to go to... Tennis. And
everyone's got to put on a different outfit for everything.
Yes. Which is, amazing. Well, he's in a full suit. He's not going to swing a tennis racket in a full suit.
I know, but I just love that they're on this island in a full suit to begin with.
Yeah. Hastings goes away, and Patrick shows up and goes, have you seen... Oh, never mind. I suddenly forgot who I was looking for. Because Poirot gives him a look.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
And then they also see, later, they see Arlena saying, hey, I'm on a boat, but don't tell anybody you saw me because I am going off to be by myself. I just don't want anyone bothering me.
They've been following me around.
Yeah. And Poirot turns to Hastings and says, she's meeting someone.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, is she? Oh, all right. That sounds plausible. Okay.
I do love this quality, and I do sort of share it with Hastings of, taking things at face value and not trying to think too much about it. Because, to his credit, Hastings generally minds his business. And that is an admirable quality.
Yeah. In a lot of ways. So that has happened. Then we see Patrick later going to gonna take a little sail.
Yes.
And then Emily Brewster comes along and she tags along. And they make some weird joke about, she's like, oh, rowing's supposed to be great for you. And he says, great, you can row. And then you see him rowing out to the Pixie Cove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or past it, at least.
There's also two other things. One thing happens before Emily Brewster is walking her bike back to the hotel and a bottle is thrown at her.
Yeah.
2, initially, Poirot is invited on this little gavant by Patrick, and Poirot is like, absolutely not. I hate the water.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then, so Emily is just there, and he turns to Emily and is like, what about you? Which is so mean. to visibly be a second choice.
No. Yeah. It's really
I feel like that's a common thing for her, though.
Yeah. Probably. She has big picked last in gym class energy.
She does.
And I say that as also the person who was picked last in gym class, so
I was too, and I was homeschooled, and it made it more hurtful.
I was middle of the pack. That was definitely nobody's first choice, but I wasn't the last.
I mean, you're
I have-
tall, so that helps.
That's probably why I was not gifted.
I was weird, and I had no. I still am, but you know how much of a curse that is in elementary school.
No,
And,
I was homeschooled.
Well, yeah, it is. It's a curse in elementary school to be at all different, and also have bad eye coordination, hand-eye coordination. So, not great at sports with balls.
I told you about this. I think I went to basketball camp one summer, and I fell in love with basketball, and I loved it so much, and I just never got past 5'10", and so I could never play it, and that was such a great sadness to me. So she and Patrick go on this little sail ride. They get to a beach, and there's a body wearing a huge hat.
Love the hat. Want the hat.
Oh, I want to talk for a minute.
Great.
About Arlena's. All of her outfits are just, and they look so comfortable and so cute. And great costume design on this episode.
Beautiful. Yeah, great big green hat, and she's got it over her head. And basically, Patrick is like, "Hey, I just want to stop here and say hello." It looks like she's sunbathing.
Yes.
And then as he gets a little closer to the body that is sunbathing, ostensibly, he says, "It seems like there's something wrong." And Brewster is like, "She just looks like she's sunbathing." But then he's like, "I don't know. Hold on just a sec." And he pulls up her hat, and she's like, and he says, "Oh no, she's dead. Oh my gosh." So, of course, we have to go get someone, and she says, "Oh, we should get Mr. Poirot." And he's like, "Great idea. But you know what? One of us should stay with the body." And she looks up at the ladder and then over to the boat, and she says, "I'm not gonna stay with the body. Why don't you do that?"
Yeah.
And I am also not gonna trust myself to climb that terrifying, rickety staircase. So I'm gonna take the boat.
Hence why she got picked last.
And I also love there's a moment where it's like, well, one of us has to stay with the body, and he looks over at Emily, and she's just like, "I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stand here with a dead body."
Yeah. You're gonna need to...
Yeah, you're going to just have to do this one for my guy. Mimo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of course, a whole contingent of people arrive at Pixie Cove, including Poirot, and Inspector Japp is now there.
Yes.
And because it's a murder, so
Yep.
police had to come in and get involved. So they're like, "Well, yeah, she's dead all right. She's been strangled to death with some big old hands."
Man hands.
They're like, "Definitely a man."
Yes. And so the investigation begins.
And they're like, "Who has a motive? Who has a motive?" Everybody has a motive.
Well, go ahead.
They don't let anyone on or off the island. That's the first thing they do. And Criminalman is like, "You can't do this. I'm gonna go anyway." And Japp is like, "I wouldn't do that if I were you. I'm Scotland Yard, so you better shut up." And he makes a huge stink about it, which is like, this guy is so bad at not being suspicious. He's terrible at it. If you put a literal gun to his head and were like, "Stop being suspicious," you would have a dead man. He could not do it to save his life. This poor man. He's bad at lying.
Everybody gets questioned.
Everybody gets questioned.
Darnley is the best because she has literally written down everything that she did that day.
Yeah, because she's done
like,
this before.
She's met Poirot before, so she's like, "All right, I have a list of all my movements." She has the coolest handwriting, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Handwriting goals, if you will. So, yes, there is a pair of glasses that is discovered at the scene. And the only person wearing glasses is Lionel. So they talk to the kid and they're like, oh, you hated your stepmom, didn't you? And he says, yeah, but I didn't kill her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the first clue is a pair of Lionel's glasses is found at the cove.
Right.
And they also go into the cave and they find heroin.
Yes.
Which Jap knew off the bat was just a little taste. And I was
Yeah.
like, I see you.
Yes.
Miss Marple ain't his only heroine, if you know what I mean.
Oh, fun fact, Lionel, that actor whose name I can't remember off the top of my head,
Russell Tovey.
was also in Miss Marple. So he's 2 for 2.
But why he always lying all the time?
They speak to the husband, and he's like, this is terrible, but I was in my room typing all day. That's my
And
alibi.
before that, we had gotten a scene with the maid walked into their room and saw him there, and he said, oh, could you come back later? And she's like, yes, of course, terribly sorry. Also, could you leave the door open? It's a bit stuffy in here. And she says, yes, of course, no problem. So she leaves his door wide open, and she is interviewed, and she said that she could hear him typing.
Yes. And also that someone ran a bath at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
They also...
Because, yeah, Jap says anything weird that you can think of, and she's like, well, this is probably nothing. But they're like, no, yeah, I mean, say it. It might help.
But also, isn't Miss Lemon tasked with something? Okay. we're
After...
not there yet.
Yes. But there's one more thing the maid tells them. Because they ask about the bottle. And they go, well,
Go for
the vicar has a bunch of bottles in his room. And they go in, and they're like, criminy, this is a lot of, like, some sort of medication bottles. There's just a lot of them. And also, there's some bottles in Arlena's room filled with perfume. So they're trying to kind of suss that out. And then
Right.
Tyler...
Miss Lemon is tasked with something.
And you don't remember it?
No, that's why I said what I said. I know she speaks to a man because I sent a picture of that man to Melissa.
Yes. I'll tell you what it is. She is tasked with finding out the financial situation of Arlena. Because...
Oh, right, because of the... Yeah.
Because of the scandal. She had married an older gentleman, and then he had quickly died, and she received a fortune. So Miss Lemon goes to her banker, and her banker says...
I hardly know her.
Which is true, because she was very standoffish. Every time you do the hardly know her, it feels like I'm getting rickrolled. But all of her assets have suddenly disappeared, essentially.
Yeah, it's great because he says, normally I wouldn't be able to tell you this, but seeing as she's dead and all,
Yep.
no big.
And prior to this, they had spoken with Christine. And Christine tells them about the phone call she overheard. And she goes, it's definitely blackmail. And that is why Miss Lemon is tasked to do this.
Right.
But there's none in the cast.
We also didn't mention that while Christine and Lionel were hanging out on the island, she was like, oh, wait, can you tell me the time? Because I have tennis at noon. And it's now 1:45 noon. And she's like, oh, no, gotta go, because I have
Gotta
to
blast.
get dressed.
And Lionel has this alleged program he wants to watch as well around the same time.
Yes.
Right, but she has to get dressed, so she needs to run back to her room before he does. And I think he splashes around in the water a little
Yeah,
bit
he
more.
goes back in for another, like, quick dip before...
Yeah, so she
he
leaves
departs.
before him.
Quick Dip was my name and my nickname in high school.
Ooh, quite the dancer, eh?
Yeah. No. Someone else. He's very fast but very dumb.
No, Oh boy.
They also interview Patrick, where he's doing the rowing machine. Right?
Yes.
And they're like, shouldn't you be more upset? And he's like, there's nothing I can do about it. She's dead. I'm just trying to move forward. I found the body. I don't want to think about it. It's psychologically taxing on me. You should understand that.
Which
just reminds me of a question in this book of, like, odd icebreakers. Like, there's a better, like, the title of the book is a lot more marketable than what I'm saying. But it's like, you're sitting in a movie theater and you get overwhelmed by the thought that someone you love has passed. What do? Do you, like, leave and, like, call to find out? Or do you finish the movie and go about, your day?
Wow, that's
do you go about watching the movie and then, like, making the call?
That's quite a dinner conversation to have.
Yeah, and that's an icebreaker?
It was something,
I hardly
something
know
like
her.
that. Like,
How
questions
would I-
like to ask. Nice.
Thank you.
A nice breaker, that was.
I'm Mr. Icebreaker. I'm Mr. Snow. I'm Mr. Icicle. I'm Mr. Timbalo.
I mean, I feel like
I would stay and watch the film, because, like, what could I do?
Melissa?
it would depend if I had any reason at all to believe that they actually
No, it's
just a feeling.
all you had was just an intense feeling that something was wrong.
Oh, I would sit and watch the rest of the movie and feel overwhelmed with anxiety the rest of the time.
Fair.
I would text that person and be that person in the theater.
During the movie?
Yeah.
That's worse than...
I would go to the back of the theater. I'd get up in the stairs. I'd go back to the theater against the wall. I would text that person to see if they're okay. And if they're not, then I would leave.
That's a good...
It alleviates the anxiety. And it
that's a
also...
good call.
You get to stay in the movie.
Well, I mean, I'd stay in the movie regardless. But, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Someone took a call, and the last 10 minutes of Logan, the movie Logan, after the character of Wolverine was dead.
Oh, we were in the same theater?
When she called it, she's like, yeah, it's almost done. Yeah, I'll see you in a few minutes. Yeah, he just died. Terrible.
I once dated briefly a guy who we went to a movie and he answered his phone and I was like, oh well.
Yeah, oh well, but this was fun. And where did you bury him?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was very young. I didn't have as much moxie as I do now.
I was on a date once where I went to
Brag.
go see a show, and I'm a former house manager for our listeners. I remember there was like somebody on the aisle, 5 rows down, and without thinking, I'm on this date, but I leave my date and just instinctually do that house manager crawl down to that person and go, turn it off. And mind you, I'm in plain clothes. It was just pure instinct that took over. And they're just looking at me like, who are you? And then I feel the tap of an actual usher on my shoulder. And I just looked at them, said, I'm sorry. And then went back to my seat.
That's too funny.
And my date, this was their first show ever.
Oh, no.
I looked like
Honey.
a complete insane person. And needless to say, that was the first and last
Oh.
date.
I would have gone out with you again.
Thank you.
I would have put my feet on your seat. I would have started taking up 2 seats. That's what I would have done. You're not coming back here, son.
It is my biggest pet peeve is people using their phones in theaters.
So we meet these Boyd Watchers. They show up to the island.
Yeah.
On
And
the tractor ferry.
yeah. And Poirot and Hastings talk to them for a minute and then they peace out. And And Poirot says, "Did you notice anything odd about those bird watchers?" And Hastings says, "Well, yes, they didn't have any binoculars with them." And Poirot is like, "Hastings, good job.
Yeah.
I
Good
see
for
you
you."
learned something."
Meanwhile, Jap's in the back, all sad and dejected.
Yep.
Yeah.
Poirot brings out a little bit of kibble and Hastings bends down and eats it out of his hand.
Yeah, pretty much.
Meanwhile, he removes the gold star from the lapel of Jap's jacket.
Yeah. This is for you now. You see, you must work out there.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so they're being weird.
Bunch of weirdos.
These dumb kids.
Then they go to the mainland because Poirot says it is not only important that we go to the mainland, it is vital. And Jap and Hastings are like, oh, okay, we must go. And then it cuts to them at a restaurant, and Poirot is just stuffing his face. And he's just like, my little Grisels, they're like Napoleon's army. And Hastings goes, they march on their stomach, I see. And he's like, yes. And then he starts to put everything together.
It's wonderful and very relatable.
Yes, very therapeutic.
And to Poirot's credit, there was quite a number of steamed vegetables on his plate.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yes.
And I could not have identified with this more. When you underfeed me, I stop functioning.
Yes, same.
I am a broken down Melissa.
Oh.
I do not function as intended.
Oh, Brian and I almost had our first bite because I was hungry.
Yes.
While they're in the mainland, they run into the vicar again as he's leaving an apothecary.
Yes.
And because of the heroin they found and the drugs in his room, they accompany the vicar back to the island with them and then question him. And apparently he has a prescribed opiate from his doctor. But they get into a bit of his backstory and where he's from. And he's from a place called Blackridge.
Yes.
And they leave that meeting somewhat satisfied, but they do send Miss Lemon to Blackridge.
Correct.
Yes, because so his story is that he divorced his wife, or his wife left him for another man, and he just hates women.
Yeah.
But
Sinful
also, and he also knows of there's an unsolved murder in Blackridge where a woman was strangled and found in the woods.
And Jap knows about the case, as does Poirot, and so they send Miss Lemon.
Yeah.
Right.
And she goes and meets with the chief of police there, the chief inspector there. Mm-hmm. And yes.
Sorry. One of the screenshots I took is her in the car with him. Mm-hmm. And, like, she's mid-eye roll, but I think she's not eye-rolling in this scene. Uh-huh. It's just the way that the screenshot happened.
That's
and it's
fun.
just really funny.
Perfect. What information does she obtain there, or is that not revealed until later?
It's not revealed until later.
Copy.
But it is time for a little break.
We are on the Scavengers Network. You can go to scavengersnetwork.com and check out all the excellent content that they have available. They have several podcasts, as well as live streams. Colin and Morgan have just started a Nuzlocke run on Twitch, which is a Pokemon playthrough under very specific conditions. From my understanding, it is very fun, and go check that out at twitch.com/scavnet, I believe is the URL for that. We also have merchandise. You can go to the show notes below and click on the merch link. We have mugs, t-shirts. One I'm thinking about ordering for myself that just says, "I'm horny for murder." Yeah, you can go and check all that good stuff out. Take it away.
We're on social media at ADC Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can join our Facebook group and get into some good conversations with other fans. Also, if you wanna, you can email us. amateurdetectiveclub@gmail.com. Be sure to go over to iTunes or your podcatcher of choice and leave us a very nice 5-star review.
Yes, darlings, we are here at the house of Patreon. ADC Pod serving you mystery realness for as low as $1 a month. At that level, you'll receive access to bonus episodes and content, plus being a little naughty on our Discord. At $3 a month, you can receive early access plus bonus episodes. And at $10 a month, you can place an ad for yourself or your business, darlings. Yeah. During the show. And you'll also receive the previous perks. Visit patreon.com/ADCpod today.
As is legally required by me by the state of Arizona. I must say, a butt soup. Thank you.
A butt soup, like one serving of butt soup.
Wait, served at El Rochero. Excellent. Back to the show. Parlor reveal?
Yeah.
Wait.
We're
Cool.
in,
Not yet.
Oh,
Not
no,
yet.
because we have a loose end that we need to tie up, right?
We gotta go back to the little cave in the cove. Cave in the cove? Cove in the cave?
loose end. I'm just a little afraid not.
I'm afraid not. Like, I'm afraid not. That's not the case.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
yeah.
the end is frayed.
Yeah.
Nice.
And loose
Yeah,
end.
yeah. I understood. I wanted to confirm that I understood, though.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
So Hastings and Japp go back to investigate something in the cove. They're checking out a bit of evidence, and they run into our bird watchers. And the bird watchers are like, yes, listen, we're heroin dealers. Okay, fine.
Because they have the box of heroin.
Yeah. And they're like, well, and they pull a gun out of their pants and point it at Japp and Hastings, and the other kid is like, kill them both.
Yeah.
And Japp is like, I am the head of Scotland Yard.
Don't do this.
And the bird watcher said, "Hey, Cam, go off." Sorry.
And then the guy holding the gun gets shot in the arm. And
Yeah.
the old
Because they're about to just kill Japp and Hastings. And,
Brah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the old guy that we didn't know what the heck he was doing there shows up and delivers the driest delivery. He goes, "Are you all right?" It's so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah, then he's apparently part of the drug task force.
yeah, and it was a sting operation.
Yeah.
And then they go
Ew.
and they arrest the obvious criminal.
Yeah. The obvious criminal from the steam room and both these kids.
Yeah.
And that's all tied up.
Yes.
Yeah, and it happens at the very right before the proper parlor reveal starts, because they're all in that dining area.
Yes, and then Miss Lemon returns. She will not return. She shows up to the island.
Yes.
And then Poirot tells everybody what happened.
Yeah.
And what happened was this.
And what did you think?
Well, yeah, Poirot goes through pretty much everyone because pretty much everyone had a motive.
Yes. But what had happened was this.
The Red Ferns have conspired together. Christine has gotten all tanned up with a self-tanner. And because Arlena has a tan. So she grabs a wig, puts on some self-tanner, takes the bottle of self-tanner, tosses it out the window where Emily is passing by and sees the bottle being thrown. So she grabs the wig, she grabs the big green hat, and goes out. It packs all her stuff up. Then, while wearing loose clothing, goes to meet Lionel. She and Lionel go off and hang out, and while he's in the water, Christine sets his watch back to 11:30. She sets it to 11:45 when it is actually 11:30. Then we know that she has asked him what time it is. He tells her, and she says, "Oh, I've got to go because I've got to make tennis." Before she leaves, while he's back in the water, she resets his watch to the correct time. So we find out later that he made his program only about 10 minutes late. So, because she has extra time, she is able to go on over. She runs over to the spot that she had agreed on with her husband. Her husband, Patrick, had arranged to meet Arlena and told Arlena that if anyone came, particularly Christine, that she should go hide in the cave. So Christine arrives, and Arlena goes to hide in the cave, and Christine, in her whole outfit of looking like Arlena, lies down, puts the hat over her head. Patrick comes up with Emily on the boat. That is when Patrick discovers her body and says, "Oh, she's dead," relying on the fact that Emily would take the boat back. So Christine gets back up, hightails it out of there, and then he meets Arlena coming out of the cave. She's like, "Oh, hello, darling," and then they're about to kiss, and he strangles her to death. And then she is put back in the spot. So she was not dead when he discovered her body.
I want to say Christine and Patrick also kiss during that scene, and it is like a full-on, like, her tongue is coming out of his ear kiss. It's just like they're clearly like Bonnie and Clyde, so horny.
Yeah, they are very
for murder.
horny for murder.
Available now on Teespring.
Yeah. So horny for murder.
Yeah, they nasty.
Yeah. So then, of course, it is Christine. And then
Could it
Christine...
Could it be Christine?
Daya?
Christine runs back, washes off all of the self-tanner, and makes her tennis time. So yeah. Turns out that they did the same thing way back when in the little town.
It's a quiet
village.
Blackridge.
Blackridge. Yeah, thank you. Where the vicar had been the minister to this other woman, where Patrick had been pretending to be her fiance, and, you know, they found a body in the woods, but it was actually Christine pretending to be this woman, Jane, I believe.
Yeah, the gameskeeper.
Yeah. And they did the exact same thing. And he was able to, his motive, basically, their motive is to steal a bunch of money from these women.
Yes.
They're preying, as Poirot says, preying on young, wealthy women.
Yes. And they discover that the phone call was not about blackmail, it was about an investment, because Nathan is a stockbroker over in New York City.
And he's very bad at it.
He's not reputable.
No. So yeah, she was real bad with her money, and trusted the wrong men, and really got herself into, got herself into a big scheme and got herself murdered.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't her fault. I'm not victim blaming.
And then Patrick's like, well, you worked everything out, you little rat. And he tries to strangle Poirot.
Yeah, it was a choice that he made.
It made me jump. I was so surprised.
Like, how does he think he's gonna get away with that? He's in a room full of people.
I don't know. Love makes you do all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah.
Money, even more, as we've discovered.
Time.
Yes.
Reading and watching Poirot.
Time and time again.
So we go back to London. Everything's been all sorted out. And Poirot was misdiagnosed, he says.
Yes.
And they break the news to Hastings that, in fact, Poirot passed out because he had really bad food poisoning and that they have closed down El Ranchero.
And Hastings goes, how do you know? And Chap says they asked someone to put an armed guard by the kitchen.
Yeah, to make sure that they didn't cook or whatever.
Yeah. Which is what?
So silly. I love it.
I almost think he's like pulling Hastings' leg about that.
Almost, yeah. But, you know, it's another one of those, like, so sorry, Hastings. It's real slide whistle ending for Hastings, second one in a row that we've gotten.
My man.
Yeah, also, how are you going to open up an Argentinian restaurant without your Argentinian wife?
No kidding. Where is Cinderella in all this?
Yeah, it's very strange. We just gotta have Hugh Fraser around.
Yeah.
Contractually obligated.
Quite literally. And my man cannot catch a break.
No.
All right, what do we think of this episode?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was really funny. I liked all the character stuff. Since I didn't know the mystery, it kept me engaged more than usual. I knew something was funny when the hat was there, but I didn't know exactly what, so I kind of suspected Patrick. But throughout, they do a great job of casting suspicion on every single suspect. Suspicion, suspect. I just put that together.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, I was homeschooled. But I liked it a lot. I'd probably give it like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. Really enjoyable episode. Made me laugh a lot. I know you have a lot of issues with the gags surrounding Poirot's diet and that sort of thing. But I do think that in the context of the time, it makes sense. And I also think it's, with the character stuffs between, like, Hastings and Poirot, it's a really good-natured. Because they love each other so much. But I understand your concerns, and I'll obviously listen to them when you say them.
I mean, yeah, it's basically just that, you know, diet culture sucks, and
Yeah.
they're not feeding the man.
No, they're not.
And don't try to sweat it out, because that's bad for your health.
Yes.
Just eat food and exercise. Like, that's, if you want to, just don't worry too much about how much you weigh.
Go on a brisk
It's not that big of a
walk.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get your heart rate going for whatever. It doesn't matter how much you weigh.
Drink 7
Truly.
cups of coffee. That'll do it. I've lost 7 pounds that way. I'm kidding.
All right, Will Smith.
Water? Did you mean water? Did you mean drink water? Keep hydrated?
Coffee got water in it. Coffee hydrate you half the amount of water do it. Science shows that. It's true. I'll link to article in the show note.
Yeah. I mean, it has other effects as well. I mean, listen, I drink coffee too, but...
Such as causing enlightenment.
Yes, that's right. Get enlightened. Get coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good episode. That was really the only little... Just wanted to make a note there about some problematic stuff, but it's a really good episode. I felt like it was a little bit of a stretch that they were responsible for this other murder. It felt a little contrived, that part. But that's not, I mean, I assume Agatha Christie wrote that. I don't know if it got lost in the translation, that there, like, was more clues in the beginning, that it might have been them, because I think that's what it is. I like to be able to potentially solve the mystery. I like it when they give us the clues, rather than, oh, also this. I did suspect pretty much everyone based on how the episode was done, which I like very much. I suspected Patrick mostly because as he was approaching the body, he's like, no, something seems wrong. And it's like, how the hell can you tell right now? You're 3 feet away from a woman covered in a hat.
Yeah.
Like, it does look like she's sleeping. So that seemed suspicious to me. But yeah, I thought it, because of how it was set up with the vicar at the beginning, I'm like, this guy has gotta have done it.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, you know, a weird serial killer that thinks he's killing these, you know, fallen women for religious reasons. But, you know, that's not how Agatha Christie writes. She doesn't do, you know, motives like that. Not to my knowledge, anyway, and certainly not frequently. Because that would be, you know, a weird serial killer narrative. So, still liked it, though. Fun performances. Main cast, great as always. Most of the writing, I thought, was pretty solid. Like going on an island tour with our friends. And I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Oh, right. I forget we do out of 5.
That's all right.
So 4 out of 5. There, I wanted to mention quick, there's a line when Hastings gets the news about his restaurant closing, and Poirot goes, Hastings, what is done, and what is underdone is underdone, which is
Yes.
very solid. I want to also interject. I agree with the kind of contrivedness of it. It reminds me of how in Murder on the Orient Express, the whole Armstrong case, that's the weakest part of that whole book and all the movies. It just like, oh, he happens to know this. But Tyler.
3 perfectly coiffed mustaches is my review.
Beautiful.
I thought the costumes were fantastic.
Oh.
I thought the performances were serviceable. I mean, all the emphasis on the timing, like, which I get, because otherwise it makes no sense of why she would have stayed in that cave for so long, or, like, didn't hear their conversation. Well, not being able to hear, I kind of understand because of the waves crashing on the beach, and fine, sure. But it didn't quite line up for me as much as I would have liked. I did kind of grossly figure out that Christine had something to do with it early on. I didn't get Patrick right away, though. I thought it was her and the husband of the actress that were in cahoots. But I knew it was Christine on the beach because her booty's so flat.
Can I
And
tell
I was
you?
like, I was like, that's not her.
Yeah, can I be honest with you? I had the same thought. I was like, there's no way that's her. Yeah, those proportions.
Also, I couldn't quite figure out, like, why, even while it's Patrick picking up the hat, she's still giving, like, that dead face. And I'm like, girl,
Yeah, that was-
it's your man. Like, nobody can see
Wink
you.
at him. Do something fun.
She had to get into character to be able to pull it off, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Also, the woman that plays Emily Brewster is in Harry Potter. I can't remember the character's name, but
I thought she looked familiar.
Yeah, she looked familiar.
she's been in a bunch of BBC stuff as well. But so that's what, an overall rating of 4, because there's 2 4s and 1 3. Right?
So a little under, but yeah.
With 3
Yeah, a
point,
little under.
Rounds up to 4.
3.78.
Oh, she's Charity Burbage. Okay, that makes sense. So she is a teacher at Hogwarts that is mentioned in other books, but she doesn't appear until Voldemort kidnaps her and murders her in front of a whole bunch of other Death Eaters.
Oh, okay.
So basically, he like puts her on a table and is like, "This is a Hogwarts teacher," and sticks his snake on her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really upsetting.
No.
No.
Hungry boy.
Yeah, that hungry snake is very.
I thought you said he was a girl.
Yes, it's true.
Well, we didn't know it at the time, and me, being the misogynist I am, assumed.
Yeah. So yeah, that's who she is. Yep.
Okay. Next week, we're watching season 8, episode 2. The title is.
Well, give Melissa time to pull it up.
Isn't it some Egypt?
Murder in
Oh,
Mesopotamia.
yes, based off a book we've already read.
Yes. Here is the description from IMDb. While Poirot is on holiday in Iraq, the wife of the head scientist at an archaeological dig confides to him that she is the target of threatening letters. Oh, I remember this one.
At first, I thought you said that he was vacationing on a rock, and I was like, an island?
I want to be left alone. My man cannot catch a break vacation-wise.
No.
No. This man cannot go on a vacation. It's like going to Ryza in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Something bad's gonna happen. Don't
No.
go.
Never go. That'll get a rise out of you.
Or being a guest on the Piper's Pit in wrestling.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was wondering what you
Yeah.
were going to do to counteract the Star Trek. And with that, I now call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to a close.
Gavel sound.
Watch Bad Hair on Hulu.